Hi everyone, this is Teacher Tianshi from Think Academy and welcome to our summer Algebra 1 camp. So today is our first day and I'm going to review some of the important calculation method and also go over 3 important questions that cover in our day 1 practice. So first of all, I would like to introduce the splitting method. So the splitting method is a really great way to simplify our answers. So as this example shows, so if you see that there are two polynomials or two terms, they adding up together, but they have the same pattern. For example, if the numerator is the difference, so you can take notes with me. So if the numerator is the difference of two numbers, well, the denominator is the product of these two numbers. Actually, they satisfy the rule for splitting method, and then we can use the splitting method. So for this one, this is 1 over 1 times 2 plus 1 over 2 times 3. So the numerator is 1, which is 2 minus 1, and also 3 minus 2. And the denominator is the product of these two numbers. So actually, we can rewrite the first term into 2 minus 1 divided by 1 times 2. And the second term can be rewritten in the form of 3 minus 2 divided by 2 times 3. And then actually you can split it. And it can be simplified into 1 minus 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2 minus 1 over 3. So in that case, all the middle terms, they will cancel out each other. So the final result will just be the first term minus the last term, which is 1 minus 1 over 3. So the whole thing can be simplified in the form of 2 over 3. So this is the splitting method. And if the numerator is the difference and the denominator is the products, we can use the splitting method. Okay, and we will also go over the one problems with related to it later. And here, let's do another problems which requires us to use the substitution method. So as the name suggested, so substitution is to use one thing to substitute the other thing. So for this one, all the terms, so you can see that although they are very complicated terms here, actually this one, this one, this one, and this one. These 4 terms have one thing in common, which is that all of these 4 terms has 1 over 3 plus 1 over 5 plus 1 over 7. So actually, we can assume the whole thing, these 3 terms adding up together to be a variable such as x. So if we assume that all this combo to be x, actually we can rewrite the algebraic expression in the form of x times x plus 1 and plus 1 minus x squared minus x. So we just substitute the whole thing with one variable, x. And then we can do the calculation. So use the distributive law of multiplication. So x squared plus x. And then plus 1 minus x squared minus x. So the 2x squared, they cancel out each other. And the 2x, they also cancel out each other. So the whole thing actually has nothing to do with x, which means that it has nothing to do with 1 over 3 plus 1 over 5 plus 1 over 7. So the whole thing can be simplified to 1. So actually, in this kind of problems, if you see that there are several terms contain the same combo, you can substitute the whole thing with one variable. So this is the meaning of substitution. Okay, so that's all for the review for concept. And now let's go over 3 questions in our day 1 practice. So the first one, so the opposite number of the absolute value of pi minus 3.14. So first of all, anyone know what is the value of pi? So pi is roughly 3.14159 something. So actually, pi is some number that the value is larger than 3.14. So if the pi minus 3.14 and the absolute value, so if the whole thing inside the absolute value is if the thing like inside the absolute value is a positive one, then what is the value of the absolute value? Actually, it will just be itself, right? So for example, the absolute value of 3 equals to 3. So if the thing inside the absolute value is a positive number, then if we open up the absolute value, it is just the thing itself. But if like the thing inside the absolute value is a negative, so for example, the absolute value of -3 equals to like the opposite of it, right? It equals to 3. So when we open up the absolute value, it will become the opposite of the thing inside the parentheses. So since pi, the value is larger than 3.14, so the whole thing is a positive number, which means that like when we open up the absolute value, it is the thing itself. But is this one the answer? No. And the reason is that there is the opposite number like in the question. So we need to find the opposite of this number. So the opposite of this number is just adding a negative sign in front of the whole thing. So we can do the simplification. So the result will be -pi plus 3.14. So the answer for this one will be -pi plus 3.14. Okay, so that's for this question. And for this one, so this one, we should use the splitting method. So for this one, like the denominator, so it's the multiplication. So denominator is the multiplication of the two numbers. But the problem is that the numerator is not the difference of these two numbers directly, because the difference of these two numbers is 2 instead of 1. So let's like do the splitting. So if the first term can be split into 1 minus 1.3, but actually the result is 2/3 instead of 1/3. So how to make the algebraic expression have the same value? So actually we need to time a half in front of the whole thing to make sure that it has the same value. So we need to times 1/2 in front of the whole thing. And then the second term like is 1/3 minus 1/5. And similarly, the result will be like 2/3 times 5. So we need to time 1/2 as well. And then we just like do the similar thing for all the other terms. And then the last term is plus 1/2021 minus 1/2023. So here, like the most important thing for the splitting method is that all the middle terms, they can cancel out each other. So the thing left will be the first thing minus the last thing. And then do the calculation. It is 2023 and 2022. And then the final result will be 1011 divided by 2023. So from this question, actually this is a complete version of the question that used in the splitting method. So if the numerator is not the difference of these two numbers, but has some relationship with the difference of these two numbers, actually we can construct the difference of these two numbers by ourselves and also use the splitting method. Okay, so let's go over the last question. So the last question, by reading this question, actually you can find that this one, like all the terms, they are like very similar to each other, right? So which are the similar terms for this one? Actually, like all the terms, all the four terms has 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/2013 in common. So actually we can assume the whole thing, assume the combo as x. Then we can rewrite it in the form of x plus 1/2014 and then 1 plus x. And then what about the third term is 1 plus x. And also we have the last term left. And what about the last term? The last term is just x. And then we can do the calculation. So it's x plus x squared plus 1 over 2014 plus 1 over 2014x. And then minus, so here we need a parenthesis. So x plus x squared plus 1 over 2014 times x. And then we can open up the parenthesis. So it's x plus x squared plus 1 over 2014 plus 1 over 2014x and minus x squared minus 1 over 2014x. And then let's do the cancellation. So here, x squared minus x squared and x 1 over 2014x, 1 over 2014x. So at last, the whole algebraic expression has nothing to do with x, and it can be simplified into 1 over 2014. Okay, so that's all for our day 1 practice problems, and I'm looking forward to see you continue to do the practice for our day 2. Okay, bye guys.